in the beginning, there was the 3.75-inch figure, and it was good. For nearly 40 years, Star Wars subsisted on this scale, and like I said, times were great. This was all we knew. But then it happened. In 2013, Star Wars The Black Series was conceived, and for the first time, we got mass-produced 6-inch Star Wars figures. This led to a natural divide in the Star Wars collecting community. You had your 3.75-inch purists. Then you had your new guys, your 6-inch guys. You're like, yeah, I like those 6-inch figures. And for whatever reason, there's always been a little bit of a headbutting going on there between the two. Then again, there's some people like me who really enjoy both and see the pros and cons with each line. There are many times that the vintage collection, despite being the smaller figure, comes in with the better figure. And in this video, I'm gonna give you 10 different times that the vintage collection kicked the Black Series butt. What's up, everybody? My name is Matt, often called Big Nerdy, sometimes called the Doctor of Toynomics. Together, we are the NWO, the Nerd World Order, and this is Nerdzoic. If this is our first time meeting, I started this channel about 2 years ago. I started it because I was completely, well, I had nothing going on because of the pandemic. I got fired, I was depressed, and I fell into what I always fall into when I'm depressed, toys. Channel grew really quickly, did not expect that to happen, and at one point my wife and I said, hey, you know what? Let's go all in with this. Let's join the toy biz, and we started our toy store, which if you haven't been there, head on over, sign up for the mailing list, browse, peruse, see what we got. I'm pretty sure that very quickly you're gonna decide that we are the best toy store on the internet. Two of my favorite toy lines to carry in that store are the Black Series and the Vintage Collection. And while the Black Series is more popular, at least in my store, the Vintage Collection often does a better job than the Black Series. But we're going to start off with an honorable mention. Our honorable mention is Yavin Luke Skywalker. Both the Black Series and the Vintage Collection version of this came out at about the same time, which was always interesting going to see them next to each other on pegs. And there was just no consistency in the face paint. One face looked okay, one face looked one face looked like evil Bilbo from Lord of the Rings. It was not a great consistent figure, which is probably why it's one of the cheapest ones you can find on the aftermarket. PVC Luke definitely wins this one. Honorable mention, out of the way, let's go to number 10. Coming in at number 10 is the Mandalorian in his Beskar armor. The Black Series version and the Vintage Collection were both released in 2020. You can pick up the Black Series for about 25 bucks and the Vintage Collection for about 15 bucks. This is a case that kind of makes me feel bad because that Black Series Mando is amazing. But what does that say for the Vintage Collection when I'm saying that it's better? It says it's awesome. And the thing that really sets it apart is the paint app. The paint on the Black Series version is just a little bit flat, whereas the Vintage Collection, it really pops. And that's why Little Mando beats Big Mando. Coming in at number 9 is Fennec Shand. Is it Shand or Shade? I'm gonna call her Shand. This is a brand new figure coming out in 2022 for both lines. It's out some places for the Black Series and it's going for about $50 on eBay because it hasn't really hit most stores yet, but you can pre-order it for just $25 on the Nerdzoic toy store. Meanwhile, the Vintage Collection is similarly not really anywhere yet, but you can find it on the scalper market for 30 to 35 bucks. But don't be the person to pay scalper prices for these. They're going to be widely available at Nerdzoic Toys. Branding. There's two things here that stick out that makes the Vintage Collection Fennec better than the Black Series. First of all, accessories. The Vintage Collection comes with an extra blaster. It's got a soft goods skirty thing. It's got a big old jug of that Wawa blue drink, apparently. And that looks amazing. And that helmet is really nice too. Last but not least, I think the face scan on the Vintage Collection is actually slightly better than the Black Series, despite being smaller. Coming in at number 8, the Vintage Collection Akbar was originally released as part of the first phase of Vintage Collection figures back in 2010 as VC22, and it's currently going for around $20. Now, it was reissued just last year, and you can pick that one up for retail price, which is exciting, because I can tell you, I was hunting this puppy in the stores back in the day, him and the Gamorrean Guard, I could never find them. Meanwhile, the Black Series was released in 2020 as part of that amazing early Galaxy packaging wave, and if you saw our cheap Black Series video, you know he can be found for as low as $13. Coming in at number 7 is Jango Fett. The Vintage Collection version of this was released all the way back in 2011 and it's going for $168 and begging for a freaking re-release at this point. Meanwhile, the Black Series version has been released a few times. First in the red line back in 2016, that one's going for about 50 bucks, and then as a gaming grate in 2020, that one's also going for about 50 bucks. The Black Series versions of this were okay. The first one had an awful face, the second one the face was better, but it didn't really look like, you know, Jango Fett. Then look at the Vintage Collection and it's got a soft goods poncho show, you guys know how I feel about soft goods. A removable helmet, a rocket, a headpiece, and did I mention
a soft goods poncho.
And even though this has nothing to do with the figure, the card back on the Vintage Collection figure version is fantastic. It's one of my favorite card backs they did for Attack of the Clones, at least. Kinda makes you wonder, are we gonna see Jango Fett get re-released as a 20-year anniversary figure for Attack of the Clones? Coming in at number 6 is Commander Cody. Execute Order 66. No, just number 6. Come on, focus. The Black Series version of Cody was first released in 2015 in the blue line, and at one point, this thing was one of the most valuable figures in the line, shooting up well over $100. Now, since it's been re-released, it's come down to earth. It's about $50. That re-release was released in 2020 as part of the archive line, and that's going for about $20, and you can actually find it in stock at the Nerdzoic toy store. We need to get someone to make us a jingle. Meanwhile, the Vintage Collection version was released in 2010, and there's a foil and a non-foil version, and guess what? They're both going for stupid money, 150 bucks a piece, so yeah, this one's crying for a re-release. It's the accessories that set the Vintage Collection apart from the Black Series here. The Vintage Collection Cody comes with a holographic Palpatine little mini thing to give him Order 66. He can also take his helmet off, so that's kind of important. Meanwhile, Cody in the Black Series is just kind of basic, and the archive one really didn't give us any updates, which is disappointing. I know I had personally been hoping that when we got the next Cody, we get the removable helmet, we get the little blue palps. Nothing. But it is Commander Cody, and he's probably in like the top 5 most popular clones, so Hasbro knows people are gonna buy it. Coming in at number 5 is the Leia in BOUSHH disguise. Is it BOUSHH? Is it BOUSHH? BOUSHH Leia, BOUSHH Leia, doesn't matter. The Black Series version of this was released early in the line back during the blue box figures in 2015, and it's currently going for a whole $70, so it's pretty expensive. However, it's heavily rumored to be getting re-released as a archive figure later this year. Meanwhile, the Vintage Collection version was released in 2019. You can pick that one up for about $30. These two are really close, if I'm being honest. Both come with soft goods, both come with a removable helmet, both come with a thermal detonator. But what sets them apart, the Vintage Collection, the face. Coming in at number 4 is Kit Fisto. He was released for the Vintage Collection back in 2011 and is going for 80 bucks. Meanwhile, he was released for the Black Series just 2 years ago in 2020, and you can pick him up for about 25 clams. This one's really simple, folks.
Soft goods.
The Vintage Collection Kit Fisto has that awesome soft goods robe, and he's got a soft goods shirt. He's got a fantastic face scan. Black Series did a great job with the face scan, but no cape? Why the hell not? You gave Plo Koon a cape. Is Plo Koon higher up on the pecking order than Kit Fisto? That seems messed up. Coming in at number 3 is the Emperor's Royal Guard. This was released back in 2012 for the Vintage Collection and was re-released in 2021. It's going for about 15 to 20 bucks. Meanwhile, the Black Series version came out in 2017, and you could pick him up for about retail price. What I love about the Vintage Collection version of this, it's really like a 2-in-1. You get 2 of them, you can have 2 different versions of an Imperial Guard. Now, the Black Series version isn't bad. It's pretty basic, and it has been reused so many times without an update that it's getting sad, making Big Nerdy sad. The Black Series actually got this reused into a named character in the publishing collection, and that one was Karner Jax. It was supposed to be Kirkanos, but Hasbro made an oopsie. Coming in at number 2 is General Grievous. He was released for the Vintage Collection back in 2010 and is currently one of the more expensive Vintage Collection figures, going anywhere between $100 to $170, depending on if he has the foil on the card. The Black Series is a deluxe figure that came out in 2017, and that one's going for around $40. There's actually a repaint version that Walmart just released as an exclusive, and it is just a repaint, but I'm a sucker for retro packaging. Now, what sets these two figures apart? Because spoiler alert, the Black Series Grievous is actually in my top 5 of all-time Black Series figures. But here's the thing, the Vintage Collection version stands. The Black Series doesn't. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. Not to me, because I keep them in package, but to anybody who opens their toys, like a normal person, kind of a big deal. The Vintage Collection also has a removable chest plate, and while it only comes with 2 hilts and 2 actual lightsabers, I think that's more accurate than what it comes with in the Black Series. Number 1's gonna be controversial. Sit down before you watch it. You ready? Coming in at number 1 is the return of the Jedi Boba Fett. This came out for the Vintage Collection just last year in 2021, and you can still pick it up for around $20. Meanwhile, the Black Series version came out also in 2021, and that one's going for about $30 because it was a deluxe figure. If you saw my Hidden Gems of 2021 video, you know that this was a really difficult decision for me, because I really liked the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett. But in the end, the Vintage Collection has that theme that's run throughout this video.
Soft goods.
Add to that a better helmet that looks more accurate right out of the package without having to boil it, and the vintage collection ends up better. Don't get me wrong, the Black Series version is still awesome with all those accessories, but the price kind of knocks it down in my head a little bit, so vintage collection for the win. Some of these are among the best vintage collection figures, but if you want to see all of the best, I actually made a series of videos where I count down the best vintage collection, and I start at the beginning, and it's working your way through the entire line. Check out that playlist here. There's only a couple videos in it, so have some fun. And remember, you gotta get old, but you don't have to grow up. Just be cool and stay nerdy. Later.